The focus formula: master your attention, reclaim your mind, and build an unstoppable life. Introduction. There is a silent epidemic destroying modern lives, not poverty, not lack of intelligence, not lack of opportunity. The real epidemic is distraction. Every single day, millions of people wake up with dreams, goals, ambitions, and plans for a better future. They want success. They want confidence. They want discipline. They want freedom. But by the end of the day, they feel mentally exhausted, emotionally scattered, and frustrated with themselves. Why? Because their attention has been stolen. The modern world profits from your distraction. Every notification, every endless scroll, every short video, every fake urgency, every algorithm is competing for one thing: your focus. Because whoever controls your attention controls your future. This audiobook is not just about productivity. This is about mental warfare. This is about taking your mind back from distraction, overthinking, laziness, digital addiction, emotional chaos, and inconsistency. This is the focus formula. And before we begin, ask yourself this honestly: what could your life look like if you focused consistently for the next 12 months? Would your finances improve? Would your body transform? Would your confidence grow? Would your future become completely different? Comment below with one thing you would achieve if distraction disappeared from your life for 1 year. And if you are serious about transforming your mindset and becoming mentally stronger than 99% of people around you, subscribe to this channel and stay until the end, because the final chapter may completely change the way you think about success forever. Think carefully about modern life. The average person wakes up and immediately checks their phone. Notifications, messages, news, social media, videos, trends, opinions, arguments, entertainment. Before their brain even fully wakes up, their attention is already under attack. Then people wonder why they cannot focus. Modern distraction is not accidental. Entire industries are built around capturing and holding your attention for as long as possible. Social media companies hire psychologists, behavioral scientists, engineers, and algorithm experts whose entire job is to keep your brain addicted to stimulation. The longer you stay distracted, the more profitable you become. Your focus is now one of the most valuable assets in the world. And most people give it away for free. Imagine waking up every single day with unlimited potential, but spending your mental energy reacting instead of creating. One notification interrupts your thinking. One scroll becomes 20 minutes. 20 minutes becomes an hour. Then your brain feels scattered. Now you try to work, but your attention keeps jumping. You cannot sit still. You begin procrastinating. Then guilt appears. Then stress. Then anxiety. And slowly, your confidence disappears because deep down, you know you are wasting your own potential. This is why focus is no longer optional. It is survival. The people who dominate the modern world are not necessarily the smartest people. They are the people who can protect their attention. Look at elite performers in any field. Athletes, scientists, researchers, writers, entrepreneurs, surgeons. Their greatest advantage is not talent. It is concentration. When you can focus deeply, you learn faster. You solve problems faster. You become emotionally calmer. You produce better work. You think more clearly. Focus multiplies everything. But distraction destroys everything slowly and invisibly. A distracted person struggles to build momentum because their brain constantly resets. They start things without finishing them. They consume information endlessly but never apply it. Eventually, they become overwhelmed by their unfinished life. One of the biggest lies modern culture teaches is that multitasking is productive. It is not. The human brain does not truly multitask. It switches rapidly between tasks, and every switch drains mental energy. Every notification weakens concentration. Every unnecessary tab drains focus. Every distraction taxes your brain. Your mind pays a price every time your attention breaks. Now imagine someone who protects their focus aggressively. They wake up without touching their phone immediately. They schedule deep work. They reduce noise. They avoid unnecessary stimulation. They train their concentration daily. Within months, this person begins operating at a completely different level. While everyone else is distracted, they are building. While others consume endlessly, they are creating. And eventually, the gap becomes massive. This is why focus creates unfair advantages. A focused person can outperform naturally talented people who lack discipline. History proves this again and again. The greatest inventions, discoveries, books, companies, and breakthroughs were created through uninterrupted concentration, not endless scrolling, not constant entertainment, not reacting every 30 seconds. Deep work creates extraordinary outcomes. But there is another danger people rarely discuss. Distraction is not only destroying productivity, it is destroying identity. Because whatever you repeatedly focus on becomes your reality. If your attention constantly feeds negativity, comparison, outrage, and meaningless stimulation, your inner world becomes chaotic. This is why many people feel mentally exhausted, even when they have done nothing physically difficult. Their brain never rests. Silence has disappeared from modern life. Most people are uncomfortable being alone with their thoughts. They need constant stimulation because stillness feels unfamiliar. But clarity comes from silence. Your greatest ideas often appear when your mind becomes quiet. That is why thinkers, inventors, philosophers, and elite performers throughout history valued solitude. Because deep thinking requires mental space. You cannot hear your own mind in a world full of noise. So ask yourself honestly, how much of your life is controlled by intention, and how much is controlled by distraction? That question can change your future. Now here is an uncomfortable truth. Many people say they want success, but their habits prove they want comfort more. Because focus requires sacrifice. You must sacrifice meaningless entertainment. You must sacrifice instant gratification. You must sacrifice constant stimulation. And most people refuse to do this. That is why average lives are common. But awareness changes everything. The moment you realize your attention is being manipulated, you begin taking your power back. And once you reclaim your focus, your life begins changing rapidly. Your thoughts become clearer. Your confidence grows. Your discipline strengthens. Your emotions stabilize. You become calmer, sharper, more intentional. Not dangerous to people, dangerous to mediocrity. The future belongs to focused creators. So, from this moment forward, stop treating your attention casually. Protect it, train it, strengthen it, because your attention determines your destiny. And before we continue, answer this honestly. What is the biggest distraction currently stealing your time and potential? Comment below and let this community know. And if this chapter already changed how you think about focus, subscribe now because the next chapter will reveal why most people never build real discipline even when they desperately want success. Why most people never become disciplined. Disciplined is one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern society. Most people think discipline means suffering. They imagine a life without enjoyment, without relaxation, without freedom. They think disciplined people are emotionally cold, robotic, or obsessed with work. But real discipline is not punishment. Real discipline is freedom. Without discipline, your emotions control your life. Without discipline, distractions control your future. Without discipline, your moods decide your actions. And that creates chaos. Look carefully at the average person. They wake up motivated on Monday. They make plans, set goals, promise themselves they will change. Then Tuesday arrives. Their energy drops. Their focus disappears. Their motivation fades. Suddenly, procrastination returns. Then guilt appears. Then frustration. Then self-doubt. And this cycle repeats for years, not because they are incapable, but because they never learned how discipline actually works. Here is the truth most people never understand. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is structural. Motivation depends on emotion. Discipline depends on systems. And systems always outperform feelings. Imagine two people. The first person only works when they feel inspired. The second person works regardless of mood. Who becomes successful after 5 years? The answer is obvious. The disciplined person becomes unstoppable because consistency compounds over time. Small actions repeated daily create massive outcomes. But modern culture has trained people to chase instant gratification instead of long-term growth. Everyone wants fast success, fast money, fast confidence, fast transformation. Nobody wants the boring process. But every meaningful achievement in life is built slowly. A strong body is built slowly. A powerful mind is built slowly. Financial freedom is built slowly. Mastery is built slowly. And this is where most people fail. They quit during the boring stage. The gym feels exciting for 1 week. Then discomfort appears. Studying feels inspiring for a few days. Then mental resistance appears. Building a business feels exciting initially. Then uncertainty appears. Every important goal eventually becomes repetitive. That is the moment discipline becomes more important than motivation. Because disciplined people understand something emotionally reactive, people never learn. Feelings are unreliable. Some days you will feel confident. Some days you will feel exhausted. Some days you will doubt yourself. Some days you will feel unstoppable. But discipline teaches you to move forward anyway. That is why disciplined people appear mentally stronger. They are not waiting for perfect emotions. They are executing commitments. And over time, this creates self-respect. This is important. Real confidence does not come from motivational quotes or positive thinking alone. Real confidence comes from evidence. When you repeatedly keep promises to yourself, your brain begins trusting you. You become internally powerful. But every time you quit, procrastinate, or avoid discomfort, your self-trust weakens. Deep down, you know when you are betraying your own potential, and your mind remembers. This is why lack of discipline quietly destroys confidence. Now here is something important most people ignore. Discipline becomes easier when your environment supports your goals. Most people rely completely on willpower. That rarely works long-term. Your environment shapes your behavior more than motivation does. If your phone constantly distracts you, remove distractions. If your room creates mental chaos, organize it. If toxic people drain your energy, reduce exposure. Successful people design environments that make good habits easier. Because they understand psychology. The easier positive behaviors become, the more consistent you become. Another powerful truth is this: discipline is deeply connected to identity. If you constantly say, "I am lazy," I cannot focus. I always fail. Your brain begins protecting that identity. But when identity changes, behavior changes faster. Instead of saying, I am trying to become disciplined, start saying, I am a disciplined person. This sounds simple, but it changes behavior dramatically. Because human beings naturally act according to who they believe they are. Your internal narrative shapes your external life. Now let us discuss something uncomfortable. Discipline requires learning how to tolerate discomfort. Most people run away from discomfort immediately. The moment something feels difficult, they escape into entertainment. They open social media, watch videos, scroll endlessly, seek dopamine. But growth exists inside discomfort. The difficult workout, the difficult study session, the difficult sacrifice, the difficult conversation. These moments build mental toughness. Every time you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort, your mind becomes stronger, and eventually, difficult things stop feeling impossible. This is why disciplined individuals often appear calmer during stressful situations. Their minds have been trained through repeated discomfort. They built psychological endurance. But understand this carefully. Discipline is not about perfection. Perfectionism destroys consistency. Many people fail because they think one mistake means total failure. They miss one workout and quit completely. They lose focus for one day and abandon their goals. But disciplined people recover quickly. They understand that consistency matters more than perfection. One bad day does not destroy progress. Repeated quitting does. That mindset changes everything. Because sustainable growth comes from returning repeatedly, not from temporary intensity. Now let us talk about another hidden benefit of discipline: peace. A disciplined life creates less chaos. You stop constantly negotiating with yourself. You stop drowning in unfinished tasks. You stop living reactively. Your mind becomes cleaner, and mental clarity creates emotional stability. Now imagine what your life could become if you developed powerful discipline over the next year. Imagine waking up focused every morning, working consistently, improving daily, managing distractions, building momentum. Your identity would completely transform. This is why discipline changes more than productivity. It changes self-image, and once your self-image changes, your future changes. Most people spend years searching for confidence without realizing. Confidence is built through action, not waiting, not wishing, not fantasizing. Action. Every disciplined action strengthens your identity. And eventually, you stop seeing yourself as weak. You become someone who follows through, someone who executes, someone who finishes what they start. That is powerful. Now here is another truth most people avoid hearing. The life you want is hidden behind the discomfort you avoid. Read that again mentally. The body you want requires uncomfortable training. The success you want requires uncomfortable focus. The future you want requires uncomfortable sacrifice. And the moment you stop avoiding discomfort, your growth accelerates. This is why discipline creates freedom. Because disciplined people are not controlled by temporary feelings anymore. They are guided by purpose. Now imagine two versions of yourself 1 year from today. The first version continues living emotionally, scrolling endlessly, procrastinating daily, quitting repeatedly. The second version becomes disciplined, focused, consistent, intentional. Which future becomes reality depends on your daily choices starting today, not next month, not next year, today. Because your future is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built through repeated, ordinary decisions. And that should motivate you deeply. Because small changes truly can transform your entire life. 1 hour of focused work daily compounds. 1 disciplined workout daily compounds. 1 intentional decision daily compounds. The question is simple. What are your habits currently building? A stronger future? Or a weaker identity? That answer matters more than most people realize. Now listen carefully. Nobody becomes disciplined overnight. Discipline is trained like a muscle. At first, it feels difficult. Your brain resists change. Your habits fight back. Your comfort zone pulls you backward. But every time you continue anyway, your mind becomes stronger. Eventually, discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes part of your identity. And once that happens, your entire life changes direction. So stop waiting for perfect motivation. Build systems. Protect your environment. Strengthen your identity. Practice consistency. And remember this forever. The people who change their lives are not always the most talented. They are the most consistent. Before we continue to the next chapter, answer this honestly. What is one habit you know would completely change your life if you stayed consistent with it for the next 12 months? Comment below, because your answer might inspire someone else listening right now. And if you are serious about becoming mentally stronger, more disciplined, and more focused than ever before, subscribe now, because the next chapter will reveal why deep focus has become a modern superpower in a distracted world. A mental state where distractions disappear. Time feels different. Your thoughts become sharper. Your creativity expands. And your productivity multiplies. This state is called deep work. Deep work is the ability to focus intensely on a mentally demanding task without distraction. And in the modern world, this skill has become incredibly rare. Which means it has also become incredibly valuable. Most people spend their lives trapped in shallow work. Checking notifications, replying to messages, scrolling through social media, switching between tabs, reacting constantly. Their attention is fragmented all day long. But deep work requires complete immersion, and immersion creates mastery. Think about the greatest achievements in human history. Scientific discoveries, powerful books, groundbreaking inventions, life-changing businesses, medical advancements. These things were not created through constant interruption. They were created through uninterrupted concentration. Modern society trains people to consume quickly. Deep work trains people to think deeply. That difference changes everything. 1 focused hour can outperform 8 distracted hours. But many people never experience this because their brain has become addicted to stimulation. Every few seconds, they need something new. Another notification, another video, another scroll, another dopamine hit. And because of this, sitting quietly and focusing on one difficult task feels uncomfortable. But that discomfort is exactly where growth begins. The ability to stay focused while resisting distraction is now a superpower. And the best part is this: focus can be trained. Your brain adapts according to repeated behavior. If you constantly multitask, your attention span weakens. If you consistently practice concentration, your focus strengthens. Your mind becomes sharper over time. This is how neuroplasticity works. Your brain rewires itself based on your habits. That means every distracted behavior shapes your mind, and every focused behavior strengthens it. Now think carefully about your current attention habits. How many times do you check your phone every day? How often do you interrupt your own thinking? How many times do you start something important but get distracted halfway through? Most people do not realize how fragmented their attention has become. Their brain never fully enters deep concentration. And because of that, they never experience their true mental potential. Now let us talk about one of the biggest enemies of deep work: dopamine overload. Modern technology floods the brain with rapid stimulation. Short videos, infinite scrolling, fast entertainment, constant novelty. This creates a dangerous effect. Normal activities begin feeling boring. Reading becomes difficult. Studying feels exhausting. Thinking deeply feels uncomfortable, not because your brain is broken, but because your reward system has been overstimulated. This is why many people struggle to sit still for even 30 minutes. Their brain has adapted to instant gratification. But deep work reverses this process. When you reduce unnecessary stimulation and train your concentration deliberately, your brain slowly regains strength. Your attention span improves. Your thinking becomes deeper. Your memory improves. Your emotional stability improves. And eventually, focused work becomes enjoyable again. But understand this carefully. At first, deep work feels uncomfortable. Your mind wanders. You feel restless. You crave distraction. That is normal. Do not mistake resistance for failure. Resistance is proof your brain is adapting. The key is consistency. Start with shorter periods of uninterrupted focus, maybe 30 minutes. Then gradually increase your concentration capacity over time. Protect these sessions aggressively. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. Put your phone away. Create silence. Train your mind like an athlete trains muscles. Because attention is mental fitness. Now let us discuss another important truth. Deep work is not only about productivity, it is also about identity. A focused person begins seeing themselves differently. They stop feeling mentally weak. They stop feeling controlled by distractions. They become calmer, more intentional, more disciplined, and eventually their entire personality changes. Because concentration builds internal strength. Now imagine two people. The first person spends years consuming endlessly. The second person spends years learning deeply, creating consistently, and protecting their attention. After 5 years, the gap between them becomes massive. This is why focus compounds over time. Small daily concentration creates extraordinary long-term results. Now, here is something fascinating. Deep work also improves emotional health. Most people think entertainment creates happiness, but endless entertainment often creates emptiness. Why? Because human beings are designed to create, not just consume. When you become deeply immersed in meaningful work, your brain experiences something powerful. Purpose. Psychologists often call this flow state, a state where awareness and performance merge together. Athletes experience it, artists experience it, scientists experience it, writers experience it, entrepreneurs experience it. And once you experience true flow, shallow distraction begins feeling less satisfying. Because your brain discovers something stronger than stimulation: meaningful immersion. This is why focused people often appear calmer and more fulfilled than constantly distracted individuals. Their mind is engaged deeply instead of fragmented constantly. Now let us discuss the future. The future economy will reward concentration more than ever before. Artificial intelligence is rapidly automating repetitive tasks. But deep thinking, strategic analysis, creativity, innovation, and complex problem-solving still require focused human cognition. This means people who master deep work will become increasingly valuable, while distracted people struggle to compete. This is no longer just about productivity. This is survival in an attention economy. And here is another powerful truth. Deep work creates confidence. Because every time you focus deeply on something difficult, your brain gains evidence that you are capable. That matters. A distracted life weakens self-belief. A focused life strengthens it. Now imagine what your life could become if you mastered deep concentration over the next few years. Imagine learning faster than most people, building skills faster, thinking more clearly, producing higher quality work, creating better opportunities. Your entire future could change. This is why focus is not merely a productivity tool. It is a life advantage. And while the world becomes increasingly distracted, focused individuals gain exponential advantages. So stop underestimating your attention. Train it deliberately. Protect it aggressively. Use it intentionally. Because your future depends on it. Now think honestly about your own life. When was the last time you worked deeply for 1 full hour without checking your phone or getting distracted? Comment below with your answer. And if you are still listening, subscribe now, because the next chapter will reveal how focused individuals build extraordinary lives while most people remain trapped in cycles of distraction, regret, and unrealized potential. A moment that most people never even recognize. It is the moment when a person slowly accepts mediocrity. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. They stop believing they can become extraordinary. They lower their standards, lower their ambition, lower their discipline, and eventually they begin living on autopilot. Wake up, consume, complain, sleep, repeat. Days become weeks. Weeks become years. Then one day they look in the mirror and realize they became someone they never intended to become. Not because they were incapable, but because they stopped fighting for their potential. This chapter is about making sure that never happens to you, because becoming unstoppable is not about becoming superhuman. It is about refusing to live below your potential any longer. Most people spend their lives reacting instead of leading. They react to notifications, react to emotions, react to opinions, react to comfort, react to fear. But focused individuals live differently. They become intentional, and intentional people change their destiny. Now understand this carefully. Your future is being built right now. Not next year, not next month. Right now. Every habit you repeat is shaping your identity. Every distraction you tolerate is training your brain. Every excuse you repeat is becoming part of your personality. That is why your daily actions matter so much, because repetition becomes identity. If you repeat weakness daily, weakness becomes your identity. If you repeat discipline daily, discipline becomes your identity. This is why small actions are never truly small. 1 hour wasted daily may not seem dangerous, but repeated for years, it becomes life-changing destruction. 1 hour of focused work daily may not seem extraordinary, but repeated for years, it creates mastery. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is often hidden inside ordinary daily behavior. Not dramatic moments, tiny repeated choices. Now think about modern life honestly. Most people are mentally exhausted, not because life is impossible, but because their minds are constantly overstimulated. Their brain never rests. From the moment they wake up, noise begins. Videos, music, scrolling, arguments, entertainment, notifications. Their attention is fragmented from morning until night, and eventually they lose the ability to think deeply. This is dangerous, because shallow thinking creates shallow lives. You cannot build an extraordinary future with a distracted mind. Deep focus is required for transformation. But modern society trains distraction. That is why focused people now possess a massive advantage. They can think while others react. They can build while others consume. They can create while others scroll endlessly. And over time, this gap becomes enormous. Now, here is something uncomfortable most people never want to admit. Many people are addicted to distraction because distraction helps them avoid themselves. Silence forces self-awareness. Stillness reveals truth. And many people are afraid of truth because truth reveals wasted potential. Truth reveals inconsistency. Truth reveals fear. This is why many people constantly seek stimulation, not because they enjoy it, but because silence feels uncomfortable. Yet powerful people learn how to sit alone with their thoughts. Because self-awareness creates transformation. You cannot improve a life you refuse to examine. Now imagine this. Imagine waking up tomorrow with complete mental clarity. No endless scrolling, no constant distractions, no emotional chaos. Imagine having a focused mind, a disciplined routine, a clear purpose. Imagine becoming someone who actually follows through. That version of you already exists. But it requires sacrifice, and this is where most people fail. They want extraordinary outcomes while protecting ordinary habits. That never works. You cannot build a powerful future while remaining addicted to comfort. Comfort is dangerous when it becomes permanent. Because comfort slowly weakens ambition, weakens discipline, weakens hunger. Look carefully at people who never grow. They usually spend years choosing comfort over development. They avoid difficult conversations, avoid difficult work, avoid difficult change, and eventually their comfort zone becomes a prison. But focused individuals understand something important. Temporary discomfort creates long-term freedom. This is true in every area of life. Physical health requires discomfort. Financial growth requires discomfort. Mental strength requires discomfort. Confidence requires discomfort. Growth always demands something from you. And, unfortunately, modern culture teaches people to avoid discomfort at all costs. That is why anxiety is rising. That is why discipline is disappearing. That is why attention spans are collapsing. People are losing the ability to struggle productively. But struggle is necessary. A muscle grows through resistance. And the human mind works the same way. Every difficult moment is an opportunity to strengthen your identity. Every time you resist distraction, your focus improves. Every time you continue despite discomfort, your discipline grows. Every time you keep promises to yourself, your confidence strengthens. This is why mentally strong individuals are built, not born. Now let us discuss self-respect. Most people want confidence. But they do not understand where confidence truly comes from. Real confidence is earned internally. It comes from evidence. When you repeatedly do difficult things, your mind begins trusting you. You become someone reliable to yourself. And that changes your entire energy. You walk differently, think differently, speak differently. Because deep down, you know you can depend on yourself. But when you constantly procrastinate, quit, and avoid discomfort, your self-trust weakens. And without self-trust, confidence becomes fragile. This is why discipline is deeply connected to self-esteem. Disciplined people respect themselves more because they prove their character through action repeatedly. Now think carefully about this question. How many promises have you made to yourself and broken? I will start tomorrow. I will focus tomorrow. I will change tomorrow. Then tomorrow arrives and nothing changes. This cycle destroys self-belief slowly because your mind notices patterns. If you constantly disappoint yourself, eventually you stop believing in your own words. That is dangerous, because once someone loses belief in themselves, mediocrity becomes comfortable. This is why rebuilding self-trust is one of the most important things a person can do. And rebuilding self-trust starts small. Very small. Wake up when you said you would. Complete one focused task. Exercise consistently. Read daily. Keep tiny promises. Because small victories rebuild identity. Now let us discuss another hidden truth about successful people. Most of them are not operating with endless motivation. They simply built systems. That is what ordinary people misunderstand. They think successful individuals feel inspired all day. No, successful people remove unnecessary decisions from their lives. They create routines, morning routines, workout routines, study routines, focus routines. Structure creates stability, and stability creates momentum. This is why routines matter so much. Without structure, emotions dominate behavior. But with structure, consistency becomes easier. Now imagine two people again. One person wakes up without direction every day. The other person has structured habits. Who becomes mentally stronger after 5 years? The answer is obvious. Because structure compounds. Now here is another uncomfortable truth. Many people secretly sabotage themselves because they fear change. Success changes identity. Growth changes relationships. Discipline changes habits. And sometimes people unconsciously remain stuck because staying familiar feels safer. Even when familiar means miserable. This is why growth requires courage. Because becoming a new person means letting go of old behaviors, old excuses, old mentalities, old identities. And many people resist this process. But focused individuals understand something powerful. Reinvention is possible. You are not trapped by your past. You are trapped by repeated behavior. That means your future can change the moment your habits change. This realization should empower you deeply, because no matter how distracted, inconsistent, lazy, or lost you were before today, you can rebuild yourself. But you must become intentional. Now listen carefully. The world rewards focused people disproportionately. A focused student learns faster. A focused entrepreneur builds faster. A focused creator grows faster. A focused athlete improves faster. Why? Because focus multiplies effort, and distraction destroys momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human life. Once momentum builds, difficult things become easier. But distraction constantly destroys momentum before results appear. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. Many people work hard temporarily. Few people remain consistent long-term. And long-term consistency changes everything. Now imagine yourself 3 years from today. Two versions of you exist. The first version continues current habits. Same distractions, same excuses, same inconsistency. The second version becomes focused, disciplined, intentional. Imagine the difference between these two lives after 3 years. The difference would be enormous. Different confidence, different mindset, different income, different opportunities, different future. And the scary part is this: both futures are being built right now, through your daily habits. Now let us talk about purpose. Focus becomes easier when your life has direction. people without purpose become vulnerable to distraction. Because when nothing meaningful guides your attention, entertainment takes control. This is why clarity matters. You must know what you are building, not perfectly, but clearly enough to move with intention. Purpose creates energy. Purpose creates endurance. Purpose gives suffering meaning. And without meaning, discipline becomes difficult to sustain. Now here is something important. You do not need to transform your entire life overnight. That mindset destroys people. Massive transformation begins with small, consistent change. One focused hour daily. One disciplined habit daily. One intentional decision daily. That is enough to begin changing your identity. Never underestimate small improvements repeated consistently. Compounding works quietly. At first, results feel invisible. Then suddenly, your life becomes unrecognizable. This is how transformation actually happens. Slowly, then suddenly. Now think carefully about this. The average person spends years waiting for motivation before taking action. But action creates motivation far more often than motivation creates action. That means movement matters. Even imperfect movement. Because action builds momentum. And momentum creates belief. This is why overthinking is dangerous. Many intelligent people remain stuck because they analyze endlessly without acting. But focused individuals understand something powerful. Clarity often comes after action, not before it. So stop waiting for perfect certainty. Start moving. Now let us discuss one of the greatest lies people tell themselves. I still have time. Yes, technically you do, but time disappears faster than most people realize. Years vanish quickly. And one day you will either thank yourself for building discipline or regret wasting your attention. That is the truth. Now imagine being 80 years old and looking back at your life. What would hurt more? Trying and failing? Or never fully trying at all? For most people, regret comes from inaction, from distraction, from unrealized potential. Do not allow distraction to steal your future quietly. Protect your attention aggressively. Because attention shapes identity, and identity shapes destiny. Now listen carefully to this final truth. The world does not need more distracted people. It needs focused individuals capable of deep thinking, meaningful work, emotional discipline, and intentional living. Become one of those people. Become someone who follows through, someone who builds despite difficulty, someone who continues despite discomfort, someone who protects their mind in a distracted world. Because once you master focus, everything changes. Your confidence changes. Your future changes. Your standards change. Your identity changes. And eventually, your entire life changes. Now, before this audiobook ends, answer this honestly. If you fully committed yourself to focus and discipline for the next 12 months, how different could your life become? Comment below with your answer. And if this audiobook awakens something inside you, subscribe to the channel and return to this audiobook whenever your mind feels weak, distracted, or unfocused. Because focus is not merely productivity, focus is power. Chapter 5. The Psychology of Focused Identity. Why you keep failing without realizing it. Most people believe they fail because they lack discipline. That is not true. The real reason people fail repeatedly is because they are trapped inside a psychological identity that silently controls their behavior. In simple terms, you do not act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. This is the hidden operating system of human behavior. If someone believes they are lazy, They will unconsciously protect that identity. If someone believes they are inconsistent, they will repeat inconsistent behavior. If someone believes they are not focused, they will naturally drift into distraction, not because they choose to, but because identity always wins over intention. This is the most dangerous part of personal development that nobody explains clearly. You can consume all the motivation in the world. You can watch hundreds of productivity videos. You can plan your entire life. But if your identity remains unchanged, your behavior will always reset back to old patterns. That is why most people feel stuck in cycles. They improve for a few days, then collapse back into old habits, then feel guilty, then restart again. This cycle is not a motivation problem, it is an identity conflict. Your brain is trying to maintain consistency with who you believe you are. Now think carefully. Every time you say things like, "I can't focus," "I always procrastinate," "I lack discipline," "I never stay consistent," you are not describing yourself, you are programming yourself. And your brain listens. Over time, these statements become internal truth. And once something becomes internal truth, behavior becomes automatic. This is why change feels difficult for most people. Not because change is impossible, but because identity resistance is strong. Your brain prefers familiar failure over unfamiliar growth, even if that familiar state is painful. Now here is the uncomfortable truth. You are already disciplined in certain areas of your life. Everyone is. If you wake up every day for work or studies, that is discipline. If you check your phone every few minutes, that is discipline too. If you consistently avoid difficult tasks, that is also discipline. The question is not whether you have discipline. The question is where your discipline is currently directed. Most people unknowingly build discipline in the wrong direction. They become highly disciplined at distraction, highly disciplined at procrastination, highly disciplined at avoiding discomfort. And that is why progress feels impossible. Because your discipline is already strong, it is just misused. Now let us go deeper. Your identity is formed through repetition, not decisions. One decision does not change you, but repeated behavior does. For example, one workout does not make you fit. One focused hour does not make you productive. One good day does not make you disciplined. But repeated action changes your identity over time. And identity change is the real transformation, not temporary motivation, not emotional inspiration. Identity shift. Now imagine something powerful. Instead of saying, "I am trying to become focused," you start acting like a focused person right now. Not later, right now. A focused person does not check their phone every 30 seconds. A focused person finishes what they start. A focused person resists distraction even when it is uncomfortable. At first, this feels forced, because your current identity resists it. But this resistance is normal. This is the transition phase between two identities. Old identity is dying. New identity is forming, and this phase feels uncomfortable for everyone. Now listen carefully. Most people quit during this transition phase, not because they cannot change, but because discomfort feels unfamiliar. This is where transformation usually collapses, right before breakthrough. Now let us talk about something deeper. Your environment is constantly reinforcing your identity. If your environment is full of distraction, your identity becomes distracted. If your environment is chaotic, your mind becomes chaotic. If your environment is low effort, your identity becomes low effort. This is why willpower alone fails. You are not just fighting habits, you are fighting your environment. That is why successful people redesign their surroundings. They reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad habits. Now think about your own environment. Is it helping your focus or silently destroying it? Be honest. Now let's go deeper into neuroscience. Your brain is built on reward loops. Every time you scroll, get a notification, or consume fast content, your brain releases dopamine. Not from happiness, but from anticipation. This creates a loop. Trigger, action, reward. Repetition. And slowly your brain learns. Distraction means reward. So when you try to focus, your brain resists. Because focus feels slow compared to stimulation. This is why studying feels hard. This is why reading feels boring. This is why deep work feels uncomfortable at first. Your reward system has been rewired. But here is the important part. It can be rewired again. Your brain is plastic. It adapts. If you reduce stimulation and increase deep work, your reward system slowly resets. Focus becomes easier. Thinking becomes clearer. Attention becomes stable again. But this takes time. Not days, weeks, sometimes months. Now let's connect this to identity again. When you repeatedly practice focus, your brain begins labeling you. This is a focused person. And once identity shifts, behavior becomes automatic. You no longer force discipline. You become it. Now here is a question you must answer honestly. Are you currently building the identity of a focused person or the identity of a distracted one? There is no neutral answer, only direction. Now, let us move into a deeper psychological truth. People do not fail because of lack of knowledge. Most people already know what they should do. Exercise, study, focus, avoid distractions, build discipline. Knowledge is not the problem. Execution is. And execution fails because identity is misaligned. You cannot consistently act like a high-performance person while identifying as a low-discipline one. Your identity will always win. Now here is something important. The goal is not to try harder. The goal is to become different. Trying is temporary. Becoming is permanent. That is the shift. Now let's make this practical. If you want to change your identity, you must start with small wins. Repeat them daily. Never break the chain. Early reinforce identity with action. Example, instead of trying to be productive all day, start with 30 minutes of deep focus. Instead of trying to change life overnight, start with one consistent habit. Because identity does not respond to intensity. It responds to repetition. Now let's address something uncomfortable. Most people want transformation without discomfort. They want focus without boredom. They want discipline without effort. They want success without resistance. But that is impossible. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the gateway. Every time you feel resistance, you are standing at the border between your old identity and new identity. Most people step back. Focused individuals step through. Now imagine your life 1 year from today. If you continued your current identity, nothing changes. Same habits, same distractions, same frustration. But if you change identity now, everything compounds, not instantly, but inevitably, because identity always determines trajectory. Now, before we end this chapter, reflect on this seriously. What identity are your daily habits building right now? A focused creator or a distracted consumer? Comment that answer honestly. And if you are still here, subscribe, because the next chapter will reveal how focus becomes a superpower in a world designed to destroy it, and why most people will never escape distraction, even if they try. You are not competing against laziness. You are competing against an entire global system designed to capture your attention. This system is called the attention economy, and once you understand it deeply, you will never look at your phone the same way again. Because your attention is not just being used, it is being engineered. Every platform you use daily, social media, video apps, news feeds, entertainment platforms, is built around one core objective: keep you engaged for as long as possible, not informed, not educated, not improved, engaged. Because engagement equals profit. The longer you stay, the more data you generate. The more data you generate, the more accurately your behavior can be predicted. The more predictable you become, the more valuable you are. This is the hidden transaction. You are not the customer. You are the product. And your attention is the currency. Now think about your daily life. You wake up and reach for your phone. Before you even fully think, you are already inside a system competing for your attention. Notifications, short videos, messages, breaking news, entertainment clips, algorithmic recommendations, all engineered to do one thing: pull you away from your intention. And most people lose this battle before they even realize it has started. Now, here is something important. The brain is not naturally weak. The brain is naturally responsive. It reacts to stimulation. So when you expose it repeatedly to high-intensity stimulation, it adapts. Fast content, constant switching, infinite novelty. Over time, your brain begins to expect stimulation at all times. This creates a dangerous shift. Slow life starts feeling uncomfortable. Reading feels slow. Studying feels difficult. Thinking deeply feels painful. Not because you became incapable, but because your attention system was trained incorrectly. This is not a personal failure. It is environmental conditioning. Now, here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people think they are choosing distraction. But in reality, they are responding to design. Autoplay removes stopping points. Infinite scroll removes natural endings. Notifications interrupt focus cycles. Short-form content shortens attention span. Algorithms study your weaknesses and reinforce them. This is not accidental. It is optimized behavioral engineering. And the goal is simple: maximize time spent on platform. Now pause and think. If entire trillion-dollar industries are optimizing for your attention, what chance does your discipline have if you are not intentional? This is why focus is no longer just a skill. It is defense, mental defense. Now let's go deeper. Every time you switch attention, your brain pays a cost. This is called context switching. When you move from one task to another, your mind does not instantly reset. It carries cognitive residue, meaning a part of your attention stays stuck in the previous task. This is why you feel mentally drained after doing nothing, because you were not resting, you were switching. And switching is exhausting. Now imagine doing this all day: phone, task, notification task, scroll task, message task. Your brain never fully stabilizes. This creates mental fragmentation, and fragmented attention leads to fragmented life. Now here is something most people ignore. Focus is not only about productivity. Focus is about identity stability. When your attention is scattered, your thoughts become scattered. When your thoughts are scattered, your emotions become unstable. And when emotions are unstable, decisions become reactive. This is why distracted people often feel anxious without reason, tired without work, unmotivated without cause, overwhelmed without progress. It is not random. It is cognitive overload. Now let's talk about the hidden addiction most people underestimate: dopamine dependency. Your brain is not addicted to phones. It is addicted to novelty. new stimulus, new information, new emotion, new reward. Every scroll delivers a micro-reward, so your brain learns. Boredom, discomfort. Stimulation, relief. This creates a loop, and that loop destroys patience, because patience is the foundation of focus. No patience, no deep work. No deep work, no mastery, no mastery, no transformation. Now here is the key insight. Focus is not about removing distraction. Focus is about rebuilding tolerance for boredom, because boredom is the entry point to deep thinking. But modern life removes boredom completely. Waiting, scroll, silence, music, stillness, video, pause, notification. So the brain never learns how to sit still. And a mind that cannot sit still cannot think deeply. Now let's bring this into real life. Ask yourself honestly, how long can you sit without reaching for your phone, not working, not studying, just sitting with your thoughts? For many people, even 30 seconds feels uncomfortable. That is not normal human behavior. That is conditioned behavior. Now here is the shift. Focused individuals are not stronger because they are different. They are stronger because they trained differently. They rebuilt their tolerance for silence. They rebuilt their attention span. They rebuilt their ability to stay with one thing, and that is trainable. Now let's talk about resistance. When you first try to focus, your brain will fight back. You will feel restless, irritated, bored, uncomfortable, mentally itchy. This is withdrawal from stimulation. Most people misinterpret this feeling. They think, this is not working, but in reality, this is rewiring. Because your brain is adapting from fast reward, slow reward, slow reward, constant switching, deep focus, external stimulation, internal control, and that transition always feels uncomfortable. Now here is a critical truth. Every time you resist distraction, you are physically changing your brain structure. Neural pathways strengthen through repetition. So each time you choose focus over distraction, you are reinforcing a new identity circuit. Focused behavior becomes easier next time. Distracted behavior becomes weaker. This is how transformation actually happens. Not instantly, but biologically. Now let's go deeper into the psychological trap. Most people believe, I will focus when I feel ready, but readiness never comes. Because the brain always prefers stimulation over effort. So waiting for readiness is actually waiting for permission from your addiction. That is why successful people never rely on mood. They rely on structure. Structure removes negotiation, no decision fatigue, no emotional bargaining, no internal debate, just execution. Now here is something powerful. The modern world rewards creators who can think deeply while others react quickly, because attention is now the most valuable resource on earth. Not money, not information, not intelligence. Attention. Whoever controls attention controls outcomes, and this applies to business, education, relationships, health, career, even self-identity. Now think about your life. Where is your attention going most of the day? Because wherever attention goes, identity follows. Now before we continue, reflect on this. How many hours per day are you truly in control of your attention? Not entertained, not distracted, controlled. Comment that honestly. And if you are still following this audiobook, subscribe, because the next chapter will reveal how to rebuild a mind that can focus for hours, even in a world designed to destroy your attention completely. Chapter 7. Rebuilding a Focused Mind. the practical reset system. At this stage, something important should be clear to you. Your issue is not intelligence, not potential, and not even motivation. Your real issue is attention conditioning. Your mind has been trained over years to constantly switch, react, consume, and interrupt itself. So focus is not something you find, it is something you rebuild. And rebuilding a focused mind is not a motivational idea. It is a structured psychological reset process that must be applied with discipline and consistency. You cannot jump from a highly distracted mind to deep focus instantly. That expectation is one of the main reasons people fail. The brain does not respond to sudden demands. It responds to gradual reconditioning. So you must stop thinking like someone trying harder and start thinking like someone rewiring behavior. The first thing you must understand is that most people are not actually incapable of focusing. They are constantly leaking attention throughout the day. Every notification, every unnecessary scroll, every random phone check, every background distraction is a small fracture in your cognitive system. These micro-interruptions do not look serious individually, but collectively they destroy mental continuity. And without continuity, deep focus cannot exist. So before you try to build focus, you must stop losing it. That means reducing unnecessary input. It means removing non-essential notifications, stopping constant app switching, eliminating background scrolling habits, and reducing exposure to short-form content that trains your brain for rapid stimulation. Because you cannot build deep concentration on top of constant interruption. It collapses under its own instability. Now here is something uncomfortable. Most people avoid reducing stimulation because silence feels unfamiliar. But unfamiliar does not mean harmful. It simply means untrained. Your discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that your brain is adjusting. Once attention leakage is reduced, the next phase is rebuilding boredom tolerance. This is where real transformation begins. If your brain cannot tolerate boredom, it cannot sustain focus. Because focus always begins where stimulation ends. You need to retrain your nervous system to stay present without escape. Start small. Sit for a few minutes daily without any stimulation. No phone, no music, no background content. Just your thoughts. At first, your mind will resist. You will feel restless, irritated, mentally uncomfortable, and strongly tempted to escape into distraction. That is not failure. That is withdrawal from overstimulation. Most people misunderstand this stage. They think discomfort means something is wrong. In reality, discomfort means rewiring is happening. Every moment you stay present without escaping is a moment your attention system is being rebuilt. After this comes single-task training. This is where focus becomes practical. Most people underestimate simplicity here. They try complicated productivity systems, but focus is not complex. It is the ability to stay with one thing without switching. You must train your mind to do one task at a time, not multiple. Not partially, fully. Choose one task and stay with it for a fixed period, even if it is uncomfortable. Your only job during that time is not perfection, but return. Every time your mind drifts, you bring it back. That return is the actual training. Not perfect attention, but repeated recentering of attention. After each focus block, recovery becomes essential. Your brain is not a machine. It is biological. It requires reset periods. But most people ruin this phase by immediately jumping into stimulation again. They finish a task and instantly open their phone, which resets the progress they just made. Instead, recovery should be clean. Walk, breathe, sit quietly, or simply do nothing for a few minutes. This allows your cognitive system to stabilize. Think of focus like physical training. If you lift weights and immediately overload different muscles without recovery, your system breaks down. The same applies to attention. Now we come to one of the most important mechanisms in modern attention science: reward system recalibration. Your brain is currently trained to prefer fast stimulation over slow effort. That means entertainment feels easier than thinking, scrolling feels easier than studying, and distraction feels more rewarding than focus. To reverse this, you must retrain reward association. That means you intentionally complete difficult tasks first, reduce instant stimulation in the early part of your day, and delay gratification instead of satisfying impulses immediately. When your brain repeatedly experiences effort followed by reward, it begins to rewire. Focus becomes less painful and more natural over time. But if your brain continues to experience distraction followed by reward, focus will always feel like resistance. This is not personality. It is conditioning. Now the final and most important layer is identity reinforcement. Behavior alone is not enough. You must connect behavior to identity. After each focus session, you must internally recognize the pattern being built, not emotionally, but factually. You are gathering evidence. Each time you focus, you are telling your brain, "This is who I am becoming." Each time you resist distraction, you are reinforcing the same identity signal. Over time, the brain stops questioning and starts accepting. Instead of saying, "I am trying to focus," it begins to operate as, "I am someone who focuses." That shift is what determines long-term transformation. Now understand this clearly. Focus is not a talent. It is not something you are born with. It is a trained cognitive ability. And like any trained ability, it strengthens with repetition and weakens with neglect. Every day, your attention is either moving toward control or toward chaos. There is no neutral position. Even passive habits are shaping your brain in one direction or another. So the real question is not whether you can focus. The real question is what your current habits are training you to become. A focused mind is not built through inspiration. It is rebuilt through structure, repetition, and controlled discomfort. Remove attention leakage. Rebuild boredom tolerance. Train single-task focus. Respect recovery. Rewire reward response. Reinforce identity through action. This is the system. And if applied consistently, your attention will slowly return to you. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because focus is not lost permanently. It is only untrained. Chapter 8. The final warning. You either take control of your focus or lose your life, quietly. This is the final chapter, and there is no softer way to say this. Your life is not collapsing because of one big failure. It is collapsing because of thousands of small distractions you keep repeating every single day. And the most dangerous part is this: you don't feel it happening. There is no dramatic moment. No alarm, no warning sign. Just slow erosion, minute by minute, scroll by scroll, choice by choice, until one day you wake up and realize you are not where you wanted to be, not because you were incapable, but because your attention was never under your control. Understand this clearly. A distracted mind does not build a meaningful life. It consumes one, and consumption feels harmless in the moment. One video, one message, one check, one notification. But multiplied over months and years, it becomes your personality, your habits, your identity, and eventually your destiny. Now, listen carefully. Nobody is coming to fix this for you. No system will save you. No motivation video will save you. No future version of you will magically fix your present behavior. If you cannot control your attention today, you are actively surrendering your future. And this is where most people lie to themselves. They say, I will change tomorrow, I will focus later, I will start when I feel ready. But later is where discipline goes to die. Because every day you delay control, your distraction strengthens, and your focus weakens. This is not motivational language. This is neurological reality. Your brain is being shaped right now by what you repeatedly allow. So, the real question is not whether you understand focus. The question is whether you are willing to suffer the discomfort required to regain it. Because focus always demands sacrifice. You must sacrifice stimulation. You must sacrifice instant gratification. You must sacrifice the comfort of constant escape. And most people refuse that sacrifice. That is why most people remain average. Not because they lack opportunity, but because they cannot sit still long enough to build anything meaningful. Now I want you to imagine something uncomfortable. Imagine your future self sitting alone one day, looking back at the years you are living right now, and realizing you had time. You had energy. You had access. You had potential, but you gave it away in fragments. Not in one big decision, but in millions of small distractions. That is how regret is built. Silently. Gradually, unnoticed, until it is too late to easily reverse. Now understand this. You are not weak. You are conditioned. Conditioned to react. Conditioned to scroll. Conditioned to escape discomfort. Conditioned to avoid deep thinking. But anything that is conditioned can also be reconditioned. And that is your responsibility. No one can do it for you. Now let's make this brutally simple. Every day you live in one of two modes. Either you control your attention or your attention controls you. There is no third option. Controlled attention builds discipline, confidence, clarity, financial growth, physical transformation, mental stability. Uncontrolled attention builds confusion, anxiety, regret, stagnation, weak discipline, a scattered identity. This is not philosophy. This is outcome. Now here is what most people never accept. Your life is currently a reflection of what you consistently pay attention to. Not what you claim to want, not what you hope for, but what you repeatedly consume, think about, and act on. So, if your life feels chaotic, your attention is chaotic. If your life feels stuck, your attention is stuck. If your life feels weak, your attention has been weakened. That is the mirror. Now listen carefully, because this is the turning point. If you do not take control of your focus deliberately, the world will take it for you permanently, and it will not ask for permission. It will not negotiate. It will simply replace your intention with distraction until you forget what you were even trying to become. That is how lives are lost today, not through tragedy, through distraction. Now ask yourself honestly, how many hours of your life today were actually directed by intention? And how many were stolen by impulse? Do not answer to sound intelligent. Answer to be honest, because honesty is the first form of control. Now here is the final truth of this entire audiobook. Your attention is your life. Where your attention goes, your energy goes. Where your energy goes, your actions go. Where your actions go, your results go. Where your results go, your identity is formed. That chain never breaks. So if you want to change your life, you do not start with goals. You start with attention. And you protect it like your future depends on it, because it does. Now I am going to be direct with you. If you continue living distracted, nothing significant will change. Not your confidence, not your income, not your discipline, not your future. Everything will stay slightly, almost better, but never truly transformed. That is the trap. But if you decide, truly decide, to take control of your focus, then your entire life trajectory begins to shift, not overnight, but inevitably, because focused effort compounds, and distraction dissolves everything it touches. So this is the final instruction of the focus formula. Stop negotiating with distraction. Stop trusting impulses. Stop waiting for motivation. And start behaving like your attention is the most valuable asset you will ever own, because it is. Now make a decision, not in words, in action. What will you stop doing today that has been stealing your focus for months? Answer it honestly. And if you are still here, understand this: you are already aware. Now the only thing left is whether you act on that awareness or waste it. This is the difference between people who stay stuck and people who transform. The choice is not complicated, but it is uncomfortable. And that discomfort is exactly where your new life begins.